Hey, Lisa, welcome to the show.
Hey there. How you doing, Jason?
We were talking kind of the pre-show. I was like, I swore you've been on the podcast before, but this is your first time.
It is my first time. I know. I've been listening for years and years, and you've seen me in all of your agency mastermind Zooms, so probably felt the same.
Yeah, we've known each other for years. I remember the first time we met in person was the Atlanta event. And
yeah, that was an
was a long
intimate
time ago.
affair. That little the smaller office, and now you're doing big events. So it's
Yeah.
great. That was a good one.
It's fun how those events have really kind of morphed over the years from, renting out like the little rooms in Rome,
Mm-hmm.
that office space, to renting out ranches.
Right, riding horses.
Well, for the agency owners that have not heard of you yet, who are you? What you do?
So I am Lisa Larson-Kelley, the CEO and founder of Quantius. And we are a marketing enablement agency specializing in B2B tech companies. So we'll go in and solve problems in their, operations, in strategy, and in execution.
Yeah, and you work with really small startups. We're the biggest tech companies in the world you work with.
Yeah. We've got, we started out working with Adobe and then just kind of went from there and just generated through relationships into Google and Meta and now Salesforce. So, we're really looking forward to bringing our learnings from all of those years of service into smaller startups and mid-market. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good way for you. Now, how did you get started creating an agency? Was this by accident?
Oh, yeah, totally. I was a freelance consultant, but I was a developer early on, and I started doing some training, things like that, dabbling in writing, and realized that I could explain technical things really well. And so I started generating content, and then through relationships was able to get into some of these bigger companies and needed help. So I just started hiring people to help me. I got my first intern off of Craigslist. She's still with me today, 12 years later. Pretty amazing. And yeah, it was out of necessity because I was just kind of doing this as a freelance thing. But then my husband had a very serious illness, and I needed to be the breadwinner. So I pretty much went all in at that point.
That's awesome. Is Craigslist still even around?
I don't know. I feel like it is.
I haven't heard that name in a long time.
I know.
And I know a lot of agencies used to find really good workers from Craigslist, which is crazy.
That was the place. That was our big bulletin board. But yeah, she was right out of college, and her mom was very nervous about her coming to meet some random person.
Oh, I would be too. So you've always been a remote team, and most agencies now are remote, and they don't want an office. I was talking about that in our mastermind the other day. Is like, man, if I had an office, I would be so unproductive, and I would distract so many people.
Yeah, I could see you just walking around from desk to desk.
Well, yeah, I'd be like, I'd sit down and like, hey, Lisa, how's it going? Like, and just distract the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Right. Their manager, their director would be like, why didn't this get done? Well, Jake.
Well, it's funny because we did have a short period of time where we were in the office. It was before COVID. We had about 7 employees, and it was exactly that. It was, I would get complaints because somebody's lunch smelled and they were making noise chewing. And I'm like,
would they have fish? I had a rule. You couldn't bring in
tuna fish sandwiches. Yeah.
And microwave it. Like I had a Jamaican employee that loved to bring in like this nasty ass fish, and they put it in the microwave. Like it was disgusting.
Oh, no. Yeah. See, that clears away all those problems being remote. You don't have to deal with any of that stuff.
Yeah.
It introduces other challenges, of course, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. What are some of the challenges that you guys have run into that you solved being a remote team?
You really have to have people who are calibrated for remote work. Some people just aren't. Some people, they need somebody right there, keeping them accountable all the time. They need some kind of structure. They need that interaction and, back and forth. And other people, they just want to get their work done, and they know what they need to do, and they'll reach out. And we're on Slack all day long with each other, and just, so we're accessible to each other, but we're allowed to go into that flow state a little bit more often. So that's one big thing, is just having the right people. And then also having some kind of structure, which we use EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. And so we have, everybody's got their goals, their rocks, so they know what they're working toward. And we have our rocks for the company, for the quarter and for the year and onward. So everybody kind of is at least rowing in the same direction and not just kind of randomly doing things all over the place.
In the interview process, how do you know if someone's built for remote work? Is there any type of questions or things that will let you know versus like, hey, can you do remote work? And they'll be like, of course, yes, I can.
Yeah. I know that we have some assessments that we do, that there are certain types of people that will gravitate toward. Our COO, Katie, it's our HR person. She handles all of that piece of it. But we have those sort of like personas that we know are going to be better at it. Somebody who's done it before successfully is helpful, because now we're starting to get into the, a few years into this. We've got some people who are excel at working that way. We can see that. And then, just, ask them questions about their accountability and, what do you need to stay accountable? And sometimes there's those tells in there that give that away. So, yeah.
Yeah. There's a question that I think I heard on an interview of Simon Sinek, and he said, this is my favorite interview question. I'm probably going to butcher it, so I apologize. But he basically goes to the person he's interviewing and says, let's say we're working together, and what's one thing that will surprise me of us working together versus like, what's something that is a bad quality? And then you're gonna be like, well, I over deliver.
Right. What's your worst quality?
Or I obsess on details. But it's like, what's one thing that's going to shock me that may make me mad later on? And I was like, it's just changing that. And it makes people think versus, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're using EOS, and, there's lots of agencies in the mastermind that use EOS. Did it take you a long time to execute this?
It did. I mean, I read the book. I just kind of played around with it a little bit in my head, tried to plan everything, tried to self-implement it. And then at one point we were introduced to an implementer, and I decided, yes, this is what we want to do, but I really need somebody to hold us accountable and get us in the system and the flow and all that. So we hired her for for a year and a half. They're not cheap, but definitely wouldn't have been able to do it otherwise. At least for us, it made the most sense because she held us accountable. She gave us the things that we needed to do and kind of that checklist, and got us into the rhythm of the meetings, because that's a big part of it, is, having those meetings and having them be non-negotiable. Are called level 10s, and you have them once a week with each team, and just getting that.
Was that the biggest part of EOS, or the system that you implemented was the meetings? Is that the...
Meetings is the biggest. That's where the rubber meets the road, honestly.
Okay. Is it because, did we waste time on meetings before?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is, and we use a tool called 90, and it's basically, it's a platform where it has all of the structure in there, and you can plug everything into it. Everybody's on the team is in there. You can set your to-dos, your goals, all of that stuff all set up in there. So it's sort of your dashboard. And then the meetings, when you go to do a meeting, you run the meetings through it as well. So it has on the side the agenda and the time, and it's a running timer. And it's like, you've got 5 minutes for everybody to check in and say what's good, what's bad, and personal and business. And then you go into your measurables. You've got measurables every week, like actual numbers and things you need to deliver that are going to get you to the goal. That's another big part of it. And then you just kind of go through that whole thing and ending up with issues. And you're basically processing issues that you've got.
Hi there, agency owners. Let me ask you, are you ready to scale your agency without increasing your overhead costs? If yes, then you need to know about E2M Solutions. Now, E2M is the #1 most reliable white label partner for agencies. They specialize in web design, WordPress development, e-commerce, SEO, and content writing. They basically do all the heavy lifting, which frees you up to focus on growing your agency. Now, here's the best part. E2M's just not another vendor. With over 10 years of experience, their team of over 300 experts has a track record of delivering for more than 300 agencies. They're your strategic partner. They deliver on time every time, so you can focus on what you do best. Now, E2M's mission is simple: to help 500 agencies increase their revenue and profit margins with white label services that actually work. And to help you get started, they're offering a special deal, 10% off for the first 3 months, but act fast because it's only a limited time offer. So head over to e2msolutions.com/smartagency to check out their transparent and their flexible pricing. Trust me, if you're ready to grow without burning out, E2M is the partner you've been looking for. That's e2msolutions.com/smartagency. Go check them out and tell them Jason Swank sent you. So it really kind of gets rid of the chit chat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But does it start really like high? Like when I always did at the agency, like I never could, maybe we had our own little system, but like I could never go through like an EOS, or just my ADD mind just struggles with that. But what we always did was we would set high level goals for the agency, both on a revenue and also kind of a create goal.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then I would have our leadership team from those goals based on their roles. And you tell me EOS is similar to this, where they would go, okay, like if we wanted to hit 20 million in top line and 10 million in net profit, and I wanted to create a system for better lead generation. So then the leader team would go through and going, all right, how do I create my revenue goal for that team? How do I create something that will help us get to that? And then also a time goal I would always have people have in there, and then so on. And it would just go down. Is that how that works as well?
Yes. And then you kind of work backwards in the measurables. It's like, okay, well, to land 2 new clients this quarter, I need to make 10 calls a week. So I have, because I'm in the sales seat. So that's my weekly measurable. So you're kind of like setting yourself up for success instead of waiting till the end and saying, oh crap, it didn't happen. Like these are all the things that need to happen in order to get here at the end of the quarter. So everything cascades from those big goals that you set as the agency owner.
A lot of times too, I always tell people, because I don't like to base kind of promotions or raises based on how long you've been with the company.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I like to show people kind of a growth within the company that they can do. So a lot of times what we've done is we'll map out, if you're a junior, well, what do you have to do to get to a mid-level? You have to do half of this job and you're a job on top, and then you can move up it.
Yes.
Does that also encompass that as well?
It didn't. And that was a missing piece that our team actually gave us feedback on, that they wanted that. They wanted some growth paths because we were, working remotely. We're all kind of like, yeah. And we initially had like marketing producers and then senior marketing producer. That was more based on just time, right? So Katie, actually, our COO, came up. She developed this whole thing. That was one of her rocks last year.
This is my favorite person. Katie's my favorite.
We'll have to have her on one of these times. That'd be you're gonna have a lot of beeps and that bleeps out.
Oh my
in
gosh!
That one.
Yes, it would just be beep 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 beep.
Oh, but she came up with this framework that is exactly what you said, but it's really interesting because it's set up in 3 different buckets. Basically, you've got your ground level, which is table stakes for the role, like what everybody should always be doing, right? And then it's, what did she say? It was seed, blossom, and bloom. Oh, she has a name for it. I forget. I had it in my head a second ago. Yeah.
What about wilting away?
That falls off the slide and they're gone.
That's in your
That happens too. Yeah, yes. Exactly. And so in seed, so everybody kind of has a season of where they are in their role. They're either starting out in the seed or they're really coming into their own and they're blossoming. And then blooming is when you're ready, almost ready for the next role. You're being a leader, you're being maybe even a thought leader in that area or something. And you're really doing that. But the really fascinating thing about it is it's not necessarily linear. Sometimes they might be dealing with something at home or something comes up and they go back down from down to seed. They're still fulfilling a role and all that, but we meet with them and have talk through and say, where do you feel like you are? And then we can have that discussion in a honest way. Like, it's not terrible that you're in seed. You're still doing your job. But these are all the potential areas that you could go from there, just to kind of give them an idea of where they want to be.
Yeah. When you get to like a scale of where you guys are at too, that's the main thing. You remember like in the mastermind yesterday, like Travis was asking, like, what are we not seeing? Like, you see all these agencies, what are we not seeing? And like I said yesterday, the big thing is really kind of how do you scale the team and make them better leaders where they take off a lot of the pressure off you. And like by setting up this kind of system, right, for allowing people to grow within the organization. Because one of the easiest ways to lose amazing people that you never want to lose is they don't see growth in the company for them or the company.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we try to have it be a very interactive thing, like have the input on what Bloom looks like. Maybe you're adding something to that we didn't see in your role. You're in the role, and kind of give them ownership and some autonomy. Otherwise, you're just trying to manage everything.
You're coaching your team. Like, I can't tell you, like, people are like, well, kind of like a better leader. Well, you coach your team, and help them get there. Like, I look at it as my team, I work for them. I'm constantly thinking like, well, what can I do to, help them out, get them to the next part versus in the beginning of my career, I was like, hey, you work for me. You got to do it my way or the highway.
Right. Yeah. It's my company. You better just fall in line, and it's not sustainable.
No, it doesn't work that way anymore. I think business used to be that way.
Yeah. Used to be more authority driven and top down. And that's not how people really thrive now.
No, especially some parts of the generation. I won't even go there. But, maybe someone on the team, I got to look at it a different way. They'll be like, all right, well, I got all this other stuff I got to do first, and then I'll get to that next week. And then if I was managing, I'm like, why is this not fucking done now?
Right. Because that's the one thing that's on your mind.
Because that's all I can focus on. Like, literally, we had a team meeting yesterday. I went to the team in the beginning. I said, look, I am so distracted because I'm so focused on this one thing. So do not let this interfere with my love for all of you. I was like, my mind is just focused on this. I can't even, I shouldn't even showed up for the meeting, honestly.
Well, it's good you're that self-aware.
Yeah. So, well, they've helped me, right? Darby,
Right.
Stacey, and Jody, and they've helped me with all of this.
It's a process for sure.
Well, Lisa, this has all been a lot of fun. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you think would benefit the listeners listening in?
Well, the one thing about having a remote team, I do feel like it's important to meet in person every now and then.
Yes, you have a retreat coming up next week, right?
We have a retreat coming up next week. We're taking everybody to Puerto Rico and, doing very minimal little team building, but it's mostly just being together, getting to know each other even better than we do now. Everybody on the team's been there for, 2-3 years. So we know each other pretty well online, but even working remotely, there's really no substitute for in-person as well.
There's not. I mean, it's just, you can meet so much over Zoom, but until you can kind of just hang out with someone over a meal or a campfire or in a pool, I mean, that's why we do the digital agency experience or the Elevate. Like, we want to get people together because you can chat for years and years over Zoom.
Right. But you go for a walk or, sit around the fire. It's a different kind of connection.
Yeah. It just builds a huge camaraderie. And they just feel more part of the team. So I'm glad you do that. I know a lot of our members do that sometimes multiple times a year.
Yeah. And we like to do it every 9 months. And so far it's happened where that we'll skip a fiscal year. So it's been one per fiscal year. This year it's both landing in the same year. So we're going to see how that works.
Awesome. Well, Lisa, thanks so much for sharing those insights. And for everyone listening, if you want to be a part of a really cool community where people are sharing amazing strategies and just understanding what you're going through, no egos attached, reach out to us and we'll have a conversation, see if it's right for you.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. I've gone from here to here in the years we've been together. So I can be a testimonial.
I think you've been in the mastermind 6 years.
I think it's 6 years this year.
Yeah. I think it's come on 6. So yeah, you've been an amazing member helping out so much. And it's been awesome seeing you grow throughout the years, from the points where we want to pull our hairs out.
Yeah, you've got me through some hairy times.
No, yeah. Well, we all go through it. I always tell everybody, look, there's always ups and downs. And, it's kind of like there's always storms coming
That's
as
right.
you're climbing the mountain. And you can hunker down and get through it. You can go back down. You just got to fight through it. And don't put all the pain on your shoulders.
Right. Suffering is an option.
I think it's a requirement of running an agency, though. If you think about it, right?
I guess what I mean is like actually taking it all on.
Yes.
Like that stuff's going to come. But if you like internalize it, that's when
it can break you.
It can break you. Absolutely.
Yeah. But I tell people, let your team know you're struggling on that. But let them know, be like, here's what I'm thinking of the plan. You don't want to go to your team like, I have no fucking clue.
The sky is falling. Oh, no.
Yeah.
Like
Then
they're
they're
going to
like,
go running
whatever.
for the hills.
When you come out of it, that's when I look back at the agency and I'm like, man, that was fun. Because we all rolled up our sleeves. We all had that one thing. Nothing else distracted us. And we got through it. That's really rewarding to me. That's when I look back when we got through the toughest times. I don't remember the greatest times.
I know. We just kind of skim over that stuff. I'm like, oh, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show, Lisa. And everybody have a swank day. Chat with you soon.